Well, greetings, Cap fans. Welcome to episode 179 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Verbanis, and as always, I'm joined by the best gosh darn co-host out there. That is Mr. Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob, I want a new drug. One that won't go away, one that won't keep me up all night, one that won't make me sleep all day. One that won't make me nervous, wondering what to do. One that makes me feel like when I'm with you, when I'm alone with you, Bob.
Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah. Huey Lewis in the News.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a new drug. That was a big hit for them.
That's a great album.
Yeah. What was the name of the album?
Oh, I don't remember the album's name.
Think of a topic that you're not very good at.
Math.
Uh, think think of one that you don't watch on TV.
Oh, sports.
That
Yeah,
was
sports.
the name of the album. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was 1983. I want to say.
Think so. Yeah, it was definitely during my high school years. Yeah.
Yeah. I was eighth grade, I think, at
Right.
the time.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
album.
Yeah. So I was a big Huey Lewis and the News fan. Actually, interesting. You know, it was like when you're that age and you're into something, you know, so you want to learn more about him. And this is pre-internet, right? So what do? You read a book.
Right. Go to the library.
You read a book. There's a biography about Huey Lewis and the News. And one of the things I read at that time was he was this close to getting like bounced by his record label. Right? Because he had done 2 albums prior to that, and he really didn't have any hits.
Yeah.
And they were like, you need hits. And he did, I think Picture This was an album, and that had the Working for a Living.
Okay.
Right? That was a hit for him. And he had one other hit before that, but that was it. Like it was like he had like one hit per album and didn't do well. And so, man, sports came out and it was like hit after hit after hit after hit and like skyrocketed.
Yeah. You know, I remember he wasn't like at least at the time I remember, it didn't strike me as like a young guy. Like he wasn't like,
yeah,
20,
right. He was like,
right?
Yeah, he was like 40 or something. You know?
He seemed old to me at the time. But yeah, definitely great album. A lot of good tunes on that album. A lot of memories from that. From those songs.
Absolutely. I wouldn't mind. I've never seen him live. I'm assuming they're still around. Probably playing those B theater kind of, summer concert series kind of thing, right? That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind seeing it. That would totally be a summer concert, right? Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah, you had a whole string of those folks from the 80s.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah. So why did I pick those lyrics, Bob? It's I want a new drug, one that won't go away, won't keep me up all night, won't make me sleep all day. One that won't make me nervous, wondering what to do. Sound a little bit like the comic we're covering today, Bob?
It surely does. Yeah, it sounds a bit like the ice that we've been exploring the impacts of in the pages thus far.
Yeah. So today we are covering Captain America 374. That's what it was. 374. It's part 3 of the Streets of Poison 7-part series that we're doing. So this is kind of our long tail story that we was voted on by our listeners to go ahead and we're covering like one issue per week over the course of 7 months. We're doing the second Wednesday of every month. So if you're listening, and if you have not listened to parts 1 and part 2, you can listen to episode 170 and 175 and get caught up. Go ahead. We'll wait. No? All right. And also, Bob, I don't know if you know this. We're now on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, Rick, I wish you had told me that. I would have trimmed my nose hairs tonight.
Yeah, we launched a YouTube channel a couple weeks ago, and I didn't tell you when we recorded with you, me, and John Soul
Yeah, right.
covering. We did a episode 177. We did a recap covering the current volume of Captain America, the first 6 issues.
Hmm.
It's a little bit of a lengthy episode. Took me a while to do it, but yeah, it only took us 177 episodes, but we're finally on YouTube. After years of people telling us that we had a face for radio,
Right.
we said to heck with you. We're going to go ahead and put it on YouTube.
Buck the trend, Rick, right? Buck the naysayers. Let's just put our faces out there.
Yeah. And I don't know about you. Have you ever like listened to something on the radio, like maybe an announcer or a DJ or something like that, and then you finally saw a picture of them, and you're like, "That's nothing like what was in my head."
That happens a lot. Yeah, like I run into these radio personalities, local radio stations,
Uh-huh.
and they're out DJing event, the charity event or something like
Uh-huh.
that. And I'm like, who's that? And they're like, those are the guys from XYZ radio station.
Is it Bob FM?
I didn't want to. Yes, okay, it's Bob FM. I didn't want to
Yeah.
say that because, as you know, they're not sponsoring the show,
Yeah, that's all right.
right? So, but I'm like, that can't be them. It doesn't look at all like they sound.
Right. Yeah. That's probably what we're going for right now. Right. I can't
That's
tell you.
true.
I,
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times uh I've talked to people and then they meet me in person. They're like, I thought you were taller.
You sounded taller.
You sound taller. Oh, all right, thanks. um, and so for those of you who are maybe new to the Captain America comic book fans show, we launched like 3 years ago on every single podcast platform out there. So if you want to check us out, just do a search for Captain America comic book fans. You will find us on any streaming platform. We also have a website, CaptainAmericaComicBookFans.com, where we have every single one of our episodes on there, and you can just listen from that website. It's a WordPress website, and then we also have an amazing community. Yeah, and this was something on Facebook. So we launched a group. What was it, 2020, Bob?
2020. Yeah.
Yeah, we launched that, and we have well over 5,000 Captain America fans on that, and that's just a simple just search for Cap comic book fans on Facebook, and come hang out with your fellow Cap fans. So we got you covered, no matter what medium you like.
That's all three great recommendations right there, Rick. And I think, one of the really cool things about the group is, I found myself using this a lot lately. That search feature in like Facebook groups, right?
Hmm.
If you have a question about an artist, a writer, an issue, a collectible, you go to that group, you run a search function. Sure enough, in the last 3 years or so, there has been a post about it.
Hmm.
It's encyclopedic, the 5,000 members and the knowledge and passion they bring to the character.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. And also too, I know there's people out there who just like, I don't go on social media or I don't like Facebook. I gotta tell you, our group is unlike any other group out there. It is zero tolerance for negativity. There is rules in the group you have to agree to, and it is, if you don't like something you see, guess what? Keep on scrolling because we are not going to ruin somebody else's something that they love, right? I mean, people post things what they love, and you know what? We respect that. And there's always something out there that people can put on and whether it's a favorite artist, a favorite writer, it's a favorite scene, or something else that's comic book related. We embrace it all.
Yeah. Bravo. Bravo. We're cheerleaders,
Indeed.
not critics. Yeah.
Indeed. How's your day going, Bob?
Woo! Rick, it's been a bit of a long day today. I had to get up early because, I think, my son is, he's in eighth grade, 14
Hmm.
years old. And it finally got to the point where my wife and I and our son were talking. We're like, it might be time for braces.
Hmm.
Not that he's got a terrible smile. Smile's great, but he got some, alignment issues and things like that.
Okay.
So we set up an appointment, first appointment of the day. It's like 7:30. So we got to get up
All right.
early,
Crack of
right?
dawn.
Right. Crack of dawn. We get out there, and do the appointment. It's like a 90-minute appointment, a consultation. Lots
Mm.
of like drawings and PowerPoints, and things on the
Hmm.
screen and all sorts of stuff, pictures and then he drops stuff. Boom, the estimate. It's like eight
Yeah, the
thousand
dollar amount. Yeah.
dollars, right?
How much?
$8,000.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So we come home. We drop my son off at school, and then we come home. We go about our separate ways. And so I'm at home today when my son gets home, and I'm like, "Hey, what do you think, buddy?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't really think I have much of a choice. I don't want to end up like when I'm 30 with my teeth out like this. And he's like, and I'm like, "Well, I don't think anybody will notice." And, and
He
he's
saw
like,
the bill.
and then he's like, but I think, it's a couple of years. I should do it now instead of later. I said, yeah, I mean, if you do it now, we'll pay. If you do it when you're in your 20s, you'll have to pay. But I got to tell you, I don't want you to rush into this. I want you to think about it. But $8,000, that would be a lot of comic books. And he's looking at me like, what? And I said, well, I mean, not that should be a factor, but $8,000, that's a lot of comic books. So
Really
just
is, yeah.
think it over carefully. So he left, and he's like mumbling as he goes out the room. So anyway, yeah, it was definitely, I had to come home, change my underpants after that.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It is. It
Yeah, I
is.
put let's see, my son was in braces. My daughter was in Invisalign,
Mm-hmm.
which is more expensive than braces.
Yeah. And
And
ain't a
then
visit cheap.
yeah, I actually I started Invisalign 2 years ago.
Did you really?
I did. I did.
Wow.
I never liked my smile. I
Uh-huh.
had some gaps, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if people go on the Facebook group and look at 2020 pictures of me,
Yeah.
they'll see the difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I best thing ever
Wow.
did. Best thing
Wow.
ever did. I wasted, because I'm old right now, and
Yeah. Late
I really
30s.
wish
Yeah,
I
for
did it
sure.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
I
Well,
really do.
I'm the same. I don't like my smile. I don't smile a lot because I've always been a little bit, conscientious about my teeth.
Hmm.
And so that's why I was so, dead set on bringing Bobby, because I want him, that's
Yeah,
it's really important. You put yourself out there in many, many different ways and feel confident. That's an important arrow in your quiver. So I want him
absolutely.
to have that and not have to worry about that as he
Yeah.
moves forward in life.
The way
So,
to guilt trip him with the $8,000. That's awesome.
I just want to see how committed he is to the
Yeah.
process, because
Dad of the year right there.
as it is a commitment, not just a financial commitment, but when you have
Yeah.
those things, it's a major commitment for a
Yeah.
very long time. So
Yeah. Especially for the Invisalign stuff, because you have to be really religious about those, and braces, you don't have a choice. They're on your teeth. You have to clean them,
mm-hmm.
make sure you don't eat certain foods and things like that. But the Invisalign, it really is, it's like you have to make sure you brush and floss after every meal before you put them back in. And it's just, you know, I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, I have flossed more in the last 2 years than I have my entire life combined leading up until those time. Honestly, I am now a flosser.
Well, side Benny. Yeah.
I am, and I will continue to be.
Yeah.
I totally see the benefit now.
Well, good. Good.
Wow, this is captivating stuff, right? This is what our listeners come for, is
Well, I do think
dental hygiene advice.
there's probably a goodly segment of our listeners slash viewers who are of a certain age,
Yeah.
who have children who have recently gone through the orthodontist experience, or are there right now going through it, and they I'm sure they commiserate. They understand, not just the expense, but the decision making process. So
Yep. Well, Bob, I can't help but notice you are not prepared for this show. I do not see any Captain America garb on you. What the heck shirt are you wearing right now?
Yeah, I'm wearing my I don't know if you can see this, but this is my quarantine shirt.
Have you been
So
quarantined,
this
Bob?
is a leftover
uh,
from, from the pandemic.
uh-huh.
So yeah, it's my sleeping shirt. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's great. You're in your PJs.
I am. I am.
That's,
I'm showered. I got my jammies on, and I am
uh,
ready to rock and roll.
yeah. Yeah, I got news for you, Bob. Moving forward, there's a shirt you're gonna have to wear.
All
I
right,
had
all
it
right.
made. I had it made just for you, Bob.
Yeah,
And it is right here, and I
yeah.
am going to be mailing to this to
Oh,
you
that one. All
soon,
right. I thought you meant
right?
the swing one.
No, 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 no.
Oh yeah.
This is the "What Would Cap Do" T-shirt, right? So we have
Yeah.
the "What Would Cap Do" challenge coin. So I made a T-shirt out of that. So it's the side of the coin. It says "What would Cap do," and then it has our website on there. And Bob, you are going to be getting that in the mail and before long.
Wow.
And I'm going to expect to see it.
All right. All right. It matches the coin that I hold in my coin purse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and I know you
your
showed off
little
a photo.
dangle.
You showed a photo of that off in the group. Yeah.
uh, your little scrotum purse.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and you know what, Bobby? I think we got to do a little contest here, a little giveaway,
Oh, I like that.
right?
Yeah.
I say we give away a "What Would Cap Do" T-shirt to one of our listeners. Um, and you have, I guess, two different ways that you can win this. Okay. You can go on Apple Podcasts and leave a review, 5-star review. You can go on YouTube and go on our channel and give us a review. Or you can be on our Facebook group and you can share one of our podcast episode posts into another comic group, and any one of those gets you entered into the contest. And just we will be able to see, obviously, if you do an Apple or YouTube, right? And we'll need to know what size T-shirt you wear too.
That's right. I love it.
Yeah,
Three different ways
yeah,
to win one of these very limited edition t-shirts.
very limited. Like it's like made to order kind of
Right.
edition. Right? We
Right.
don't have
Yeah.
all of these waiting around. And then also, once you and I are wearing it and people see it, listeners, let us know. Let us know if this is something that you're interested in. Maybe we'll make them available for the public.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob, should we get to today's episode?
It's probably worth doing.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
why
we're
we're
here.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So as I mentioned before, we're covering today Captain America Volume 1, number 374. This is got a cover date of August 1990. Bob, what were you doing in August of 1990?
Well, I was a year into my Marine Corps career. So in August of 1990, I would have been at my first duty station in Yuma, Arizona,
Wow.
sweating my shoulders off. Because I don't know if you've been to southern Arizona in the summer, Rick, but it's like
No,
120 degrees, 125 degrees in the shade. In
but it's
fact,
a dry heat.
it's a dry heat, right? In fact, we go to what they're called trop hours. So we start work at like 4 and get off at like noon or something
Uh-huh.
for the summer months because it's just too hot to work outside during
That's
the
an early
afternoon.
day, 4 a.m.
It really is. I
What
kind
time
of
did you
like
go to
it.
bed?
You kind of get used to it. Well, I mean, you're 20, so like you go to bed at midnight, just like normal, right?
Uh-huh.
Because you could do that when you're 20.
Yeah,
And while
right?
you're at it, you can go drinking and whatever, right? And so it wasn't that bad. Now it would kill me. Like a day of that would kill me. But
Right.
back then, no problem. But yeah, that's where I was. How about you? What were you doing in August of 1990?
I was in college, and I was probably waiting tables at a restaurant during the summer, earning money and spending time with my girlfriend.
Nice. Were you down at I remember you told me you used to go down to the beach in the
Yeah, oh
summer,
yeah, totally.
right? Is
Every
that where
summer I
you
was
were?
at the
Yeah.
In Delaware. Yep,
All
yep.
right.
And you know what else I was doing? I was reading Captain America comics because I never stopped. I started collecting in 1983, and every single month I have been collecting ever since. And I really did enjoy the Ron Lim, Mark Gruenwald run. Ron Lim was on Captain America, I want to say like a year and a half, in that 1989 to 1991 range. Maybe did like 18, 19 issues. And he's not known for Captain America. He's mostly known for Silver Surfer and other cosmic type of characters. But I think us Cap fans have a little special place in our heart because those were some fun issues back then. And this was, I think Mark Grunwald was still in his heyday.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Some compelling stories, compelling characters, great story arcs, and characterization too. New characters.
Yep.
Really dive deep into some of those.
The creators for this, as I mentioned, writer Mark Grunwald, penciler Ron Lim. The inker was Danny Bellondi, colorist Steve Buccellato, letterer Joe Rosen, and the editor was Ralph Macchio.
Is it the editor?
Editor.
I thought he was the editoro.
No,
Doesn't
he's
it
the
say it?
editor.
It doesn't it say editoro
Where?
in the credits?
Like in the actual comic?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me look this up.
Yeah.
It does say editoro. How about that?
Yes. Yes. And we have the coloristo and what is it? The editor in chiefo.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I was actually looking online. I wasn't looking in the
Yeah.
actual comic. Interesting. So the writer, penciler, inker, and letterer were all in English, and then they try to do some sort of
I don't know
Spanglish
Spanglish for some reason.
of the others. That's
Yeah.
funny. Um, and there is no solicitation for this one, Bob. Sorry
Doggone it.
to burst your bubble.
Yeah.
But tell us about the cover. The cover is by Ron Lim and Danny Bellondi. So why don't we take the listeners through it?
All right. It really is it's a compelling cover, right? I mean, it's like, what's going on here? Because we see Captain America and he's lying supine on the floor. And we see they look to be in some sort of, I don't know, it's like a building under construction or a warehouse or something. Cap is like pressed down on what appears to be some sort of like iron beam. And his shield is just out of reach beyond his right hand, right? But
Mm-hmm.
above him, kneeling, straddling him, is Bullseye. And Bullseye's got his right hand over Cap's throat, and his left hand, he's got it raised up with his side pointing down, ready to plunge into Captain America's torso. And there is a maniacal look on Bullseye's face, like none other.
Yeah, it is a captivating cover. It does kind of pull you in. And a couple of reasons too is Bullseye, and as I mentioned this in the last episode, he's not exactly a character that is well known in 1990 as he is today. We hadn't seen him since 1983. There was a long lull, and he had only appeared in Daredevil prior to this, and so Mark Gruenwald, for whatever reason, decided to bring him back, and so this is the first confrontation between Bullseye and Captain America. And so for Captain America fans, it is like, whoa, who, who is this? I mean, like if you didn't read Daredevil, you may not be familiar with the character.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Because he's got a prominent position right here on the cover. So
Yeah,
you'd think this would be like a more established Cap character.
right. And I think Ron Lynn did an excellent job making sure for him to look really evil looking in the face, right? There's no mistaking here that he's a bad guy. And then above the Captain America logo is the Streets of Poison logo. And we have, just to point out that this is a story that is continuing over the course of a bi-weekly series. And the word poison has kind of like a splatter behind it. And then in the corner box where we have the Marvel Comics logo, it's still the Kieran Dwyer Captain America running in the corner box, which I find interesting. And then a buck, Bob, $1 gets you this comic back in 1990.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think about what a deal that is. Compare, I mean, what are they now? $4.99 or something
Yeah,
like that?
right. Summer $5.99. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an investment.
All right, we open this up, and the opening splash page is picking up where we left off with that huge cliffhanger from last episode, right? You're smiling, Bob.
I
Is it
thought for
tracts of
sure.
land?
I thought for sure you were going to go there, Rick.
Huge
There we go.
tracts
Yeah.
of land.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I got to do it. For our Monty Python fans out there. And then what's the name of this story, Bob?
Falling out.
Searching for clues to help him break New York City's new drug ring, the Star-Spangled Avenger prowls a bombed-out warehouse on Manhattan's Lower West Side, only to find himself under attack by one of the deadliest men alive. And what we see here is where we left off. Cap is in a dark warehouse. He knows there's somebody else there, and it's Bullseye. And Bullseye sees it's Captain America, and he throws his flashlight and the shovel that he had in his hand at the same time. And I believe, Bob, you pointed that out as being classic misdirect.
That's right. Put the victim on the horns of a dilemma.
Did you learn that in the Marines, Bob?
I did, actually. I did. Yeah, that's classic tactics.
What kind of examples can you give of that perhaps maybe you had to personally be involved with?
Well, it's like, having a machine gun nest over here that's providing, enfilade fire on your flank. But if you go forward, you're also going to run into like the main, offensive component of your opponent. And so you can't go forward, you can't go straight, and then if they're encircling you, then like you have to pick one way or the other. You can't, you have to make a choice, and none of the choices are good. And that's really what a horns of a dilemma is.
Well, that's what Bullseye did to Cap. So Cap has his shield up as he's looking at the flashlight. Blinded. Whoever's out there threw his flashlight straight at my eyes. And then we turn the page, and Cap is struck. My thigh. When I lifted my shield to deflect the flashlight, something sharp hurled at the same time found my exposed leg. Shovel. Whole left leg is numb. Can't put any weight on it. It would have to hit where I was shot a few months back. When did that happen, Bob?
Rick, I got to tell you, it says the editor's note says Cap 362, which I think is back in the Bloodstone hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't recollect Cap getting shot in the leg in that issue. Or in the prior issue for that matter. So it's weird. I say it's not just my recollection, because you know how bad my memory is. I did go back and I looked at that issue, and he didn't get shot in the leg in that issue. So I don't know what they're talking about. So yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Editor's note may be a little off.
Yeah.
Whoever's out there is sneaky, vicious, and has excellent aim. Can't wait to see who. I hear movement through the rubble. Where? And he's taking the flashlight and picking it up and using it to find his assailant. But we cut to a panel, a really cool panel, because it's Bullseye drawn 4 different ways in the same panel just to demonstrate motion. So he's running, diving, rolling, and then when he gets up on his feet, he is throwing a knife, and it's going and it hits Cap on his shield, Bob.
Ka-tank!
Better douse the light. He's got me pinpointed. And then the next page, that top panel, boy, is he pinpointed. It makes a lot of noise, Bob.
It does. We got a ka-tank, ka-tank, boom.
Yeah, because the thing about Bullseye is not only is he an expert at aiming and hitting his target, but he can turn anything into a weapon.
Yeah.
Right. So he's just picking up anything that's on the ground. So that includes a brick, that includes a pipe, that includes, any kind of rocks. But he also has some throwing stars, I'm sure, in his pouch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Because when you think of marksmanship, you think, well, you're talking about like a bow and arrow or a pistol or a rifle or something. But Bullseye is an expert marksman with a brick.
Can you throw a knife, Bob?
Can I? No, no.
Did you ever have to practice that?
The only thing I've thrown recently is my back. And yeah. No, we didn't do knife throw. We did work with bayonets, of course, right?
Sure,
Bayonets
hand to hand, yeah.
rifles and hand to hand and all that sort of stuff.
But never throwing any kind of.
No, we don't. Yeah, no knife throwing. That's just in the movies and such and so forth. They're probably special forces. They probably learn throw knives and hide them.
Yeah, to throw grenades though, right?
Oh yeah, definitely how to throw grenades. Yeah.
Yes. I saw. Speaking of Monty Python, for the quest for the Holy Grail when they have the holy hand grenade.
Right.
And I saw somebody had created a sign for the thermostat because somebody at work, the boss said, all right, put a sign up on the thermostat that, we have to keep it at 72. So somebody wrote this long paragraph. It was like, it'll be set at 72, not 71, not 73. 74 is right out. Thou shall not exceed 71 shall not, whatever, unless preceded by 71, or something. It was actually really funny.
Yeah.
All right. So then we have a chance now in this panel to see Cap going in motion multiple times, and he's just basically behind his shield as he's just rolling, having things being tossed at him. Still can't put any weight on my one leg. But if I pull it in tight, the other leg ought to give me enough thrust to roll away from the barrage. The captain moved where he ditched the light. Couldn't quite make out which way. Have to toss stuff in an arc. I'll know when I hit that overgrown hubcap of his by its sound. So Bullseye's just tossing things in the dark, looking for him. I think I lost him. Good. He can't see me, and I can't see him. We're even for the moment. Now, if I can use this girder to help me get to my feet. There. Now what? Get out of the dark? I'm going to have to climb this thing. So we turn the page. And we cut to, remember the other cliffhanger, Bob?
Right.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, Black Widow and Diamondback were wrestling on Cap's sky cycle. I mean, he had jumped off and left Diamondback on there. She didn't know how to drive that thing.
Right.
And then Black Widow came across her and said, what's she doing on the Cap sky cycle? So they got to wrestling, and that thing went down in the Hudson River.
Yeah.
That's the last we saw of either of them.
And they both got splooged.
Well put. Yes. Yeah.
And then so we cut to 3 blocks west in the Hudson River. And coming up from the water, we see Rachel, a.k.a. Diamondback, gasping for air. No sign of my sparring partner, nor Cap's flying cycle. It's brand new. He's going to kill me. Wait a minute. It's his darn fault. He's the one who bailed out without asking me if I knew how to drive it. He's been acting rather wonky lately, ever since he escaped from that warehouse explosion. And then she starts swimming. As for the Black Widow, I haven't the foggiest how she fits in. She claimed to be an Avenger, but this is seriously in doubt because Cap would never let a commie join. Now, Bob, can you give some context to that comment from 1990?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was like after the fall, right? Of the Soviet Union. Was that around 89, right?
Yeah.
88, 89. I guess we're still a little hung up on the communists at this point. So it's understandable. It's understandable that these, probably these prejudices, not that those prejudices are still out there, but we're talking about a different magnitude, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
prior to this, we'd had the Soviet Union in the international communist movement headed by the Soviet Union, and that had just been on the precipice before it toppled. So very, very different back then. They were the number one enemy of the United States. So
Indeed. So then she's swimming, and then what pops up out of the water is the sky cycle. So it just kind of like, floats up to the top,
that's a
and
nice feature. That's a nice
yeah,
feature.
right?
Yeah.
Hey, hey, what do we have here? Guess Cap's little sky cycle is airtight. But will it work? And she gets on and she hits the ignition. Vroom, right, Bob? Is that how it goes?
I can't believe you're taking my job,
No, right? It slipped out. Sorry.
man.
Um, and she hits the ignition, Bob. Oh, that was so much better. Well,
Well,
I'm getting out of here. If I manage to survive that little splashdown, I'll bet any money that the widow did too. No percentage messing with her. And then we do. As she's pulling away, and she's riding it like a wave runner,
yeah,
on the water.
right.
And we see a uh, Black Widow head bobbing out of the water. We will meet again soon, Diamondback. Cut to the next page, Bob, and we're back to the battle between Cap and Bullseye. They're inside the building, and Cap is on a girder. He made it up to the second level, looking, and down below we see Bullseye. Took a while, but I made it. Got to stay low. Visibility's better up here as at street level than I think I see someone. Yes, someone on the beam below me. My leg were up to it. I'd leap right down there and take matters into hand. Looks like he spotted me too, because he had these. What do you call those? They're like long needles, right? In his hands, and he's like throwing these needles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you call them. They're like darts of some sort.
Mm-hmm. And he hit Cap's shield.
Ka-ting, ka-ting.
If I could only get him to part with that stupid shield of his, he'd be a pincushion. Who is this guy? Every one of his shots hits its target. Not even the death throws had this kind of accuracy. Wait, I remember reading about a guy with uncanny aim. Bullseye, he called himself. Daredevil fought him a number of times. What's his interest here? Next page. Cap had enough. And he goes and he dives from up above to down below to land on the same girder that um, Bullseye's on. I've had enough of this being used for target practice. I want to get at that guy, even if it means putting my bum leg to the acid test. Ah, hurts like mad, but it didn't fold on me. Now to rush him. And Bullseye's like, what in? The flag man's trying to close in on me, looks like. Ha! He's got to have to move faster than that. And he's throwing things at him as he dives. All right, Bullseye, hold it right there. I've had about enough of you. Whoa, the man ID'd me. Nice to know I still got a rep after all those months out of circulation. And he dives down, but right above Cap is Diamondback on the sky cycle. And she yells out, Bob.
Ah!
Huh? Diamondback. What's this? Two of them. Fun's fun, but I don't like the odds of two against one, especially when I ain't being paid for it. I'm getting out of here. And then he dives out the window, Bob, and he lands feet first into a parked car, and it crashes. The roof crashes, and it just goes right through. They're no good for getting through airport security, but antimonium laced bones have a few advantages. Okay, Bob, I saw the look on your face.
What?
You got a comment here?
No, we just no. I thought it was adamantium, but
Oh, what, I said it wrong? What did
well,
I say?
it sounded more like adamantium,
Oh
but
yeah,
it could be
so
it
off.
could be the New Jersey accent coming through.
Yeah. I
Hey,
thought
it's leave my adamantium alone.
I got your hard bone right here.
Exactly, right?
um, yeah, I thought you were kind of giving kind of a look to the fact that, he just fell through this car and he's just a normal human. So a little backstory on the
Hmm.
antimonium that
Yeah.
is on Bullseye's bones.
Okay.
So most people are like, well, I just thought Wolverine was the only one.
Hmm.
And normally you would be right. But in 1983, actually, maybe 1982, there was a story took place in Daredevil 196 or 199. And this was when Claus Janson was doing the art, and Frank Miller had left the book. And there was a story about Lord Darkwind. Now, Lord Darkwind was a
Oh, it's not Dark Wing, right?
no, no, no.
The
You're
duck
thinking
guy.
huh? You're thinking of Duckwing?
Dark Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy.
No, this is Dark Wind.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But Darkwind was a ruler in Japan, um, more of a, I guess, kind of yakuza, mafia. Not a great guy. And anyway, he was looking to assassinate, I guess, the emperor of Japan at the time, and so he had been for years working on uh, graphing antimonium to human bones. They actually stole the formula from him in Weapon X to create Wolverine's bones.
I did not know any of this.
Yes,
Thank you.
it's a retcon. So
Uh-huh.
again, this was in 1982, 1983 when they came up with this.
Yeah.
Um, but he goes into New York to smuggle a paralyzed Bullseye out of New York to bring him to Japan to um, experiment on him because he knows he's a great assassin. He knows he has a broken spine. Let's go ahead and lace the antimonium to his bones.
Mm.
Why is he paralyzed? Well, that's because shortly when he killed Elektra, Bullseye killed
Mm.
Elektra, which was Matt Murdock slash Daredevil's lover, that um, Bullseye and Daredevil fought on the rooftops. Daredevil let Bullseye fall to apparently his death, but instead it was he just broke his spine. And so at that point, Darkwind comes in, smuggles Bullseye out, and experiments on him, and you know
All right.
now
Yeah.
Bullseye has antimonium on his bones.
And
Couple things here. Number one, um, the reason they say Wolverine could never have been duplicated is because of his healing factor. Like no one else could survive this process who doesn't have a mutant healing factor.
mm,
Bullseye doesn't have a mutant healing factor.
yeah.
So, number one. Number two, you see him
Yeah.
crash through this car. Okay, well, maybe you didn't break your bones, but man, his feet and his shins and legs and everything, the muscles got to be all torn up,
They'd
right?
be all shredded. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Good
I
point.
don't know. That's why I thought you were like giving me
Yeah.
that look.
But far be it from me not to suspend my disbelief in fantasy, Rick.
Well, can't you suspend your disbelief in my accent?
It's hard sometimes, Rick.
Okay.
It's hard. I'm down here in, South Florida. I'm from Massachusetts. People sound funny to me.
Okay. And by the way, it wasn't my accent. It was Bullseye's accent.
Oh.
I don't talk like that.
Fair enough. Okay.
Some of us do different voices as opposed to the same exact one when it's their turn to read.
Okay, Rick. That's a new one.
Yes, sure. All right, so Cap now is on the back of the Sky Cycle behind Diamondback, and she's driving. I think you scared Bullseye away. He can't have gotten far, though. Swing around the building. Hey, you're dripping wet and smell like algae. What happened? Ahem. After you bailed out without asking if I knew how to fly this thing, the Black Widow jumped aboard and made us both crash into the drink. The Black Widow? What's she doing here? Looking for you, I guess. Where's the widow now? Still in the river, as far as I know. You want me to go looking for her? No. Keep cycling. Bullseye's my first priority here. And then we see Bullseye down a block away, looking up at them. Next we meet, Captain. I ain't letting you get off so easy. Now that's a little odd. Captain America's first priority is going after the bad guy, not rescuing his colleague.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like him.
Really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, normally, if he suspected one of his colleagues, friends, partners was in some sort of peril, he would, prioritize that and, live to fight another day.
Exactly. All right, so we turn the page and we get to uptown, and somebody is underneath a steering wheel of an automobile, hot wiring it. And there's two guys in the back seat. Yo, Hotwire, you done yet? Cut me some slack. I just got down to it. Fastest fingers in the apple. Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. Let's cruise. Yeehaw! Let's find some crackerjacks to hoist. I'll head up the front land. Bound to be some action there. 10 minutes later, I know it's Frontierland. Sorry.
I'm still trying to figure out crackerjacks.
Crackerjacks, yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, I know what the tasty treat is, Rick. But I have never used that as a term of reference for another person. I'm wondering what that means.
I think it's the drug dealers or references crackerjacks.
Okay, makes sense. All right. And you're so streetwise.
No, I'm just paying attention to the story.
Okay.
Yeah, you should try it sometime. It's helpful. So they're driving down a street. It's dark outside, and there's people walking on the sidewalks. Doesn't look like a good part of town. And there's some guys. There are four guys standing together. Hey, potshot, rub out. How about them? If they ain't dealing, my sister sings opera. They'll do fine. Let me roll down the window. Okay, smoke them. And then they start firing at the four guys.
I'm sorry, Rick, but I made the unfortunate error of looking up crackerjack in the Urban Dictionary. Now I'm disturbed.
Yes,
but a bit alarmed. So yeah.
What's the definition on urban whatever?
Well, the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, all that sort of stuff. They refer to a crackerjack as a person of excellence. Like, hey, he's a crackerjack at that, But the Urban Dictionary says it's a game where several men gather around a cracker and furiously masturbate onto it. Whoever ejaculates first wins. Now that is alarming in and of itself. But yesterday I was watching the local news.
All right. So now I got to change this particular episode to not kid friendly.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I'm watching the news yesterday, Rick, and drinking my coffee, my granola, whatever, and I see on the crawl line below that 5 men were arrested in a local park for public masturbation. But here's the thing, Rick. Apparently, it was not crackerjack because they were all arrested. It's separate incidences. My wife and I are like, what the hell's so sexy about that park? I mean, you know,
Yikes.
yeah, I know, right? I mean, yeah. And that park is in a relatively, let's just say, affluent part of the county. So
That's
weird.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
disgusting, but it's like creepy too, right? So
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean,
there's a
it's
lot of
like,
synchronicity going here in my research. So
all right.
yeah,
Now you might want to scrub that off your internet history there.
that's a good point. So anyway, blam blam blam, Rick.
Mm. It's all gotta tell you that all has a whole new meaning now.
It really does. Yeah.
So they basically gun down the four guys that they think are drug dealers, and they drive away. Next page, at the Fisk building later that night. Remember Fisk? Wilson Fisk,
Yeah.
aka
Yeah.
Kingpin?
The Kingpin.
So he's there and he's in his room, his office, and he's pounding on the table. 3 drive-by shootings of crack dealers in one night. Crack dealers whose earnings ultimately flow into my coffers. Who could be perpetrating such an outrage? This is not the Punisher style. And then standing across from him is
Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid Mary. And if you want a really good description of what Typhoid Mary looks like, go back and listen to episode 175.
Yeah. Or just watch a music video from that time period.
Yeah, right. It looks to me like gang war, a deliberate attempt to make inroads into your turf by some outside party. Yes, we must discover the identity of this outside party and begin our campaign of retaliation. Why the devil hasn't anyone heard from Bullseye yet? Want me to? And that sentence is never finished.
It never is.
And we
Yeah.
don't know the answer either. And Avengers headquarters, currently under reconstruction. Look at it this way, Cap. Bullseye may have managed to get away, but just knowing he's involved is more than you knew before. Cap? And it's Rachel and
John
John
Jameson.
Jameson, right?
Jingleheimer.
His pilot.
Yeah.
Did you just say
Jingleheimer Smith.
Daniel Schmegerfit? Is his name your name too?
That's it. That's the
Yeah.
one.
The two of them are walking several paces behind Captain America, who's just ignoring them by walking very sternly. I don't think he's feeling very talkative, Diamond. And then we see Peggy Carter, and she's at some sort of computer console. Cap, you startled me. I have such good news. Fabian's counselor has called. He seems to be responding quite well to forget him, Peggy. It's the Black Widow I'm concerned about. What? Are you responsible for getting her involved in my case, or is it just a big coincidence? Yes, I contacted her. She was the only reserve member available when you were. This operation is not an Avengers affair. It's a personal mission. No one else should have been called in. He's talking very sternly. Next page. But it's standard procedure when, don't quote standard procedure to me, Carter. I wrote it. Now get her on the horn and call her off. Yes, sir. And then she's kind of, I like how Ron Lim draws her here, right? Like she's kind of biting her lower lip, and a look of
she's got
concern.
the quivery lower lip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with him? He's never spoken to me like that before. And then we cut to the lounge where Diamondback, who's wearing a blanket, right? Because remember, she was soaking and apparently smelling like algae. And she's sitting on a couch, and standing in front of her is John Jameson. And she's, I guess has a cup of coffee there, trying to warm up. Been acting so strange, moody lately. I really think that explosion he was in rattled him, John. And Cap turns the corner to hear all this. Talking about me behind my back, huh? That's it. You're out of here right now. John, escort her out. Cap? Come on. And John does escort her out. And they're at the exit. There's something really the matter with him, John. Can't you tell? Yeah, I can. But he didn't sound in any mood to be argued with. Here, take this. It's my private line. Call me if you want. Okay. So he goes back to Cap. She's gone. Not sure what else to say to him that won't set him off. Good. Now what we have to do is turn up the heat. Get those drug rats to scurry out into the open. Next page, John continues to talk with Cap. Say, Cap, seems to me like the drug problem in America is more a matter of decreasing the demand than the supply. If there weren't such a demand for all this crud, traffickers would stop trying to bring so much of it into the country. So what you're saying, Jameson, is that we should let the hoodlums carry on unchecked while we go about doing social work. I can't accept that. And then we have another guy that comes in here, Bob.
We do.
You know who this guy is?
This is Michael, right?
Michael who?
Fabian?
No.
No, not Michael Fabian. I'm sorry.
Michael O'Brien.
Yeah, O'Brien. Yeah.
Now, Michael O'Brien is somebody we don't see very often. He is also a member of the crew. He used to be a character known as the Guardsman. So he wore a Guardsman outfit in the pages of Iron Man. And then when he's not wearing that, he's just a regular old member of Cap's crew. He used to be a sergeant in the New York Police Department. Maybe you ought to at least coordinate your efforts with the DEA. I mean, isn't that a little out of Avengers jurisdiction? Let's get something straight, O'Brien. I hired all of you, and you work for me. I pay you to do your jobs, not to try to second guess me or question my decisions. Am I making myself clear? Yeah. Yes, sir. If you guys aren't with the program, who the devil needs you? I can do this all by myself. And then John is talking to Michael. Diamondback was right, Michael. Something's definitely wrong with Cap. He's just not acting like himself. What can we do? Neither of us have the authority to go over his head. Call the Avengers and to check him out? What's the Avengers Charter say about when the leader flips out, becomes incapable of command? Dissension, Bob.
Absolutely. But he's thinking, right? He's thinking on his feet here. There's something, and everyone sees it. There's something amiss with Cap. He's not acting in character.
Speaking of which, we cut to Diamondback on the Upper West Side, and she is in the shadows, changing into some new clothing. If he thinks he can get rid of me that easily, he'd do well to think again. Maybe some other chick would go away all hurt and teary-eyed if her main squeeze dumped on her, like Cap did just with me, but not this lady. I've been dumped on far worse than that, and I know that wasn't the real Cap talking either. Cap's in deep, even if he doesn't know it yet, and I'm not about to ditch him just because he's mad at me. Good excuse to break out my undercover costume. Keep tabs on him without his knowing it. So, Bob, how would you describe Diamondback's undercover costume?
It's like Diamondback's costume with a half jacket.
Yeah. Right?
Right. Yeah. Maybe the colors are a little bit more subdued.
Yeah, they're darker.
They're like midnight purple colors and black.
Yeah.
That's what she looks like.
Yeah, the dame's looking a little darker, yeah?
Yeah.
Next page, somewhere near Times Square, we see Bullseye, but he's wearing a trench coat. And he's beating up some guys in the arcade. And he's holding up one against a sign that says Archon. Now, who's Archon, Bob?
I have no idea.
I didn't have time to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's a character.
Was it? I thought it was just a video game or something from that time period.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, they have Blaster in the next panel, so I just assumed.
Yeah. Oh, you know what to say about assuming, Bob.
That's right. It makes something or other.
Yeah. Let me ask you one last time, Junior. When did you get that ice I saw you smoking? And he's holding up, and he's got the sai, which is a this long dagger, right? That's right underneath his chin. And there's a guy behind him who's watching all this, and he's reaching into his jacket to pull out apparently a weapon. Target mask, a super narc or what? Gonna skewer Julio unless someone does something. Fancy poker of his ain't got nothing on a snub nose. What's a snub nose, Bob?
That's a short barrel pistol. So
Mm.
yeah, that's easily hidden.
So, but just before he could pull it out, Bullseye turns and he throws the sai, one of his sais, because I guess he has two, and it goes right into his hand, which goes right into his chest. Tough reaching for your piece with your hand stapled to your chest, huh? You got 2 seconds to speak before my sai pokes through the soft tissue behind your jawbone. One. Guy named Rizzo, 42nd and ninth. What's he look like? Tall, dirty blonde hair and a ponytail. Denim jacket. Thanks. And then he takes his head and he pushes him through a console video game. I find you lied. I come looking for you. Good night now. All right, we cut to the next page, and what?
What? I thought this was a Captain America story. What's
I
going
thought
on
so
here?
too.
This is crazy.
It's Daredevil, and he is over the Midtown Manhattan. This is actually 2 nights later, Bob. And he's swinging because he's got that billy club that has a line attached to it, so he's using that to swing over the rooftops. Ah, feels like ages since I last did this. After all those weeks wandering about upstate, it's going to take me a while to get acclimated to the big city's rhythms and sensations again. No time like the present. My balance, timing, judgment all need a tune-up. Now, Bob, for those who may be not familiar with the Daredevil character, how would you describe him? What does he look like?
Oh my goodness, Rick. Well, I mean, he's got a full body red suit on, including a red cowl with two tiny little devil's horns poking out of the forehead. And then on his chest is the double D.
He's got double D's on
He's
his
got
chest,
double
Bob.
D's on his chest, Rick.
You may want to look again, Bob.
Oh, yeah, look, that's a double. It doesn't say double D.
It says
DD, right?
DD, yeah.
That's a double D.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know what I can't help but notice, Bob,
Yeah.
is that if this was a female character, you would say that the costume was skin tight.
Um,
But even though it's skin tight on Daredevil, you didn't mention that.
huh. Well, I guess it didn't catch my eye like perhaps it did for you.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
But he's referencing to get back acclimated to the big city's rhythms and sensations again. And that's because the character Matt Murdock, who is Daredevil, is blind. And so he cannot see, but he has a gift. It's called a radar sense that allows his other senses to overcompensate, where he can kind of see things, outlines of things. But his sense of smell, his hearing, his sense of touch are all super heightened, and allows him to not only act as if he could have sight, but even better. And so one of the things that he's trying to do is, again, the rhythms and the sensations of the city to allow him to manipulate and travel the way he does. Uh-oh, misjudged the arc of my swing by a few fractions of a second. I'm going to miss that flagpole. I got the flag, but they just don't fasten them like they used to, and the flag rips off the flagpole. Better try my billy club again. Hope I find something to skyhook. Thank God for gargoyles. Looks like Manhattan's reddest crime fighter won't be getting any redder tonight. The flag. It touched the ground, thanks to me. Wonder what Captain America would have me do. Destroy it? Hard to say. When I no before I keep going, but you that you were in the military for 25
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
What would happen to a flag that touches the ground?
Actually, it's fine. It's you don't want the flag to touch the ground, Rick, but as long as a flag is serviceable, that is, the colors haven't faded, so that they're no longer recognizable, and they're not, and the flag's not frayed at the edges or torn in any way, then it can still be flown. So, yeah, you don't have to destroy it if it happens to touch the ground. You just don't want it to touch the ground.
Good to know. I always heard too that you were supposed to destroy flags that touch the ground. I don't know where that came from, but
Yeah, yeah. I don't know
always
either.
seemed wrong to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's well, yeah, I've heard that before too, but that's not the case according to flag regulations.
gotcha. Hard to say. When I ran into Captain America last night, there was something really off about him. He was very edgy, like he was overworked or distraught about something. Maybe my first item of business back here in the Apple ought to be me looking in on him, seeing if he needs my help. And it says, see Daredevil 283 now on sale. So Bob, I was curious. So I picked up my copy
Oh, great,
of
great issue.
Daredevil 283. You
Yeah,
think it's a great issue?
I love that. I know it's a very controversial
Hmm.
story, particularly the way Cap is presented, and I found this really interesting, right? Because a lot of folks read that issue and go, "Whoa, whoa, that's not how we don't normally see Cap that overtly express his views about American politics or
Yeah,
foreign policy, right?" And so, connecting that to the Streets of Poison arc.
makes
Now,
sense.
yeah, it does, right? Now you have read. I'm not. I haven't read a lot of Daredevil. I do have that issue and a few
Hmm.
others from that time period, back when I was collecting in those days. And but you've read a lot of Daredevil
Oh yeah.
and a lot of Daredevil with Cap in that, and particularly that writer. Um, was that off key for what was normally presented in Daredevil or by that writer, or was it, in keeping with the general tone?
Uh, I have two thoughts, and one thought is maybe we cover this issue next episode,
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're going to be a little out of order,
Yeah.
right? Because this uh it'll go, but I think, yeah, why don't we cover that, right?
Yeah, okay.
We'll cover Daredevil 283 next episode and talk about it. And my answer is it was an odd issue.
Okay.
Ann Nassetti was is the writer during this
Hmm.
time, and it is a out of normal Daredevil issue for that time period. And I feel kind of bad for anybody who was a Daredevil reader and not a Captain America reader and
Hmm.
read that version of Captain America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I asked that, right? Because I have picked up that, and I've read that issue since, right? Because a lot of folks go, well, that issue's great, right? But it is out of character in many ways, and
Hmm.
it needs to be put in context with this arc, the
Absolutely.
Streets of
Yeah.
Poison. Otherwise, it's somewhat incomprehensible. And if you don't make those linkages, then it's a bit of an outlier and hard to explain.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's cover it next episode.
All right, that's
All right.
awesome.
All right. So we cut back to Cap on the Sky Cycle. And again, this is 2 nights later, right? And he's on his own and he's looking for trouble, right? I don't know how I let myself get distracted from my mission on that little episode upstate, but I'm back, and nothing's going to stop me from cracking this drug ring now. Can't go back to the Avengers. Maybe I could stay with Stan Wilson a while. Wait, I'll bet that busybody Peggy Carter contacted him, told him about our falling out, turned him against me. Better not try. Hey, what's going on down there? A limo in this part of the city? Something illicit's going on, I'll bet. And there's that paranoia we kind of talked about, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He definitely sees something amiss. And
Well, no, the whole
maybe,
paranoia about like, Peggy Carter turned Sam Wilson
right.
against me. Like
Yeah.
he just jumped to that conclusion.
Right. I mean, everything is amiss in his life at this point, right? There's conspiracies and things going on that normally would just be run of the mill matter of course, and even as Peggy said, standard procedure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A drug deal in progress. You'd think someone who could afford a limousine would know better than to throw his money and his wealth down the sewer by ingesting crud. Maybe I'll do something about the demand side instead of the supply side this time. And he's landing with his sky cycle and he has the headlights on. And so the dealer runs and the limo takes off, trying to ditch me. How quaint. Between my extremely maneuverable sky cycle and my indestructible shield, Mr. Demand Side doesn't stand a chance. And he throws the shield and it ricochets into the front tire well of the passenger side. And we turn the page. Oh my goodness. It causes the car to do a flip in midair.
Yeah.
And Cap and it lands on its side and slides to a halt. So Cap goes over and he opens up the door and he pulls the passenger out of the limousine and he holds him up. You know how someone grabs someone's shirt on the chest and pulls them close to him so they could get up close and personal.
Yeah.
That's what Cap's doing here. Mister, the name's Captain America, and I'm here with a public service announcement. Every time you buy drugs, you're financing murder. If you don't care about your own health, neither do I. But I do care that you're contributing to a subculture that thrives on violence, murder, and the poisoning of this nation's most precious resource, its youth. Grow up, get responsible, starting now. And he puts him back down. And he walks away with a smile on his face. I think he got the message. Now, Bob, we all agree that Cap is out of character. But do
Yeah.
you think, I mean, when you're intoxicated,
I know where you're going with this.
right?
Yeah.
Uh you become less inhibited.
Yes.
You things you would normally not say
Yeah.
come out.
Right.
Are we seeing a side of Cap that feels a certain way, but because of his restraint and his mutual respect, he doesn't dare let out? But we're seeing a side of Cap that this is something that he's always thought, but we've never seen him say.
Yeah. I mean, I think you raise a very, very salient point here, right? In fact, I was making a note to myself to ask you that very same question because yeah, we do see him less inhibited, right? That comes from intoxication, whether it's alcohol or drugs, right? People say behave in ways that they would not otherwise normally do, but often the way they do behave and speak reflects how they actually feel. And so we do see that here where he's let the walls down and his famous self-discipline has slipped. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think I mean, if like I would love to think that Cap is a Boy Scout through and through, but based on all that he's seen and experienced and is faced with on a day-to-day basis, it's hard not to believe that he doesn't have a lot that he stuffs down inside himself, right?
Right.
But that's what makes Cap is the fact that he exercises the self-discipline to live up to a higher set of ethics when it comes to the bad guys and protecting the innocent, and not like going too far. Like, what he did here to this guy's car, and to the individual himself, seems a bit overkill
Yeah,
for what the situation was, right?
sure. Do you agree with this sentiment? Every time you buy drugs, you're financing murder. You're contributing to a subculture that thrives on violence, murder, and the poisoning of youth.
Do I believe that? Yeah, I do believe that. I think that's an undebatable point. If you're buying drugs off the black market, off street dealers and things like that, regardless of whether it's the expensive stuff or the cheap stuff, you are funding these illegal narcotic networks, right? These drug networks. So, yeah, there's no way around that.
Hmm. I guess that is a interesting topic for conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because there are going to be some people out there who be like, oh, but what if it's, not the hard stuff, right? What if it's less than, and, it's,
Yeah.
in some states it's legal,
Right.
right?
Well, I mean, that's been the argument though for legalizing things like marijuana, in that it would move it
Mhm.
from the dark side to transparency, and so and tax it and all those sorts of things that make it above board. So, and maybe that has worked, maybe it hasn't worked. I don't know. I don't follow it closely enough, but I think, like, when Jameson John brought up supply side versus demand side solutions,
Mm,
that was really questions that were being asked in the late 80s and early
right.
90s, right? So, I mean, this was very, very much in with what was going on outside the windows at the time.
Yep. No, absolutely. I thought Mark Gruenwald really captured what was going on in 1990 very well here,
Yeah.
and made it kind of edgy, for a
Mm-hmm.
Captain America story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we cut to the last two pages of the story, and it is the Upper East Side, and we see Rachel, who is working at a boutique, and John Jameson comes to pay her a visit. Colette's Fashion Boutique. This is the place. And he knocks on the door.
Now hold on, Rick,
What?
because every time I read this, I can't help but think of the Three Stooges. Is it just me?
The knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock.
Because it's knock, 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 right?
Yeah, right, because it's spelled NUK. Knock,
Yeah.
knock, knock. All right. Um, and then Rachel sees that it's John. John Jameson, hi. Good to see you. Heard anything from Cap? No, he hasn't stopped by the headquarters in over 48 hours. Keep talking while I change. And then she comes out in her new disguise Diamondback outfit, right? The
Yeah.
one that's
Yeah.
darker, right? And it's her, espionage outfit.
Yeah, I think I saw Prince wear this in Purple Rain.
Oh,
If I'm
did
not
you?
mistaken. Yeah,
Yeah, same gloves.
everything.
Yeah. And she goes, what do you think? Now, any man who is married knows that if your wife comes out with a
Yeah,
new outfit
yeah.
and she says, what do you think?
Mhm.
This next answer is not appropriate. Looks fine. Can you imagine if Casey came to you and she
Yeah,
has this brand new outfit on that she's really excited about? Like, she put a lot of thought and effort into it,
yeah.
and maybe even designed it herself, right? And she comes out, she goes, "What do you think?" And you say, "Looks fine."
Oh, but it gets better.
Oh, that's true. I had it made for when I don't want to be recognized as Diamondback. The wig helps.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever helps cover your face. um, so they go out walking. She closes the shop. I've got a theory about Cap's strange behavior. Let's hear it. Consider his symptoms: manic energy, even by his standards, compulsive behavior. All you can think about are these drug punks, heightened libido. Remember how he kissed me? And uncharacteristic paranoia. All his behavior lately adds up to one thing: Cap's on drugs. Say what? I think he accidentally ingested a truckload of ice when he was caught in that drug factory explosion. But maybe maybe the effects will fade without further exposure to the drugs. But what I fear is that the chemical may have latched onto the super soldier serum in him and won't let go. I really think you're onto something, Diamond. And then you remember that red car that was full of hot lead and hot wire
Yeah,
and
looking for some
uh,
crackerjacks.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
They pull up, and so Diamondback continues. So it's really important we get hold of him, make him undergo a medical exam right away. I've been spending my nights hanging around drug infested neighborhoods, hoping to run into what? And you can see her eyes recognize what's going on, right? She sees the car slowly coming up and the window going down, and then she sees the barrel, and she trips John. She like kicks his feet out from underneath him and trips him as the machine gun fires, Bob. John's safe because of her heroic act. She, on the other hand, gets hit in the back and the car speeds away. Continued in 2 weeks. Well, maybe the comic in 1990 was. This will be continued in 4 weeks when we come back uh, for episode 183 when we cover part 4 of this, Streets of Poison. Bob, thoughts? What are you thinking?
Man, it's getting good, Rick, right? I mean, we got Cap acting crazy. And, we got Diamondback and John trying to figure out what the problem is. And we got something going on here. I mean, Fisk is upset because somebody is moving into his territory and it's orchestrated and he doesn't know who's behind this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am kind of curious because we got to see Mary say, "Do you want dot dot dot," or whatever it was, and we never got to see the full question, so we don't know what's up there. And that's
Yeah,
coming.
that's coming. So, a
Uh,
lot
and
going
and
on.
to me, listen, I love the character Bullseye. I don't like him, but
Yeah,
I find him fascinating, and I find him as a great spoil to Daredevil, and to see him fight Captain America was a real thrill for me. And to see the two of them go up against each other, and I liked how Mark Gruenwald did it. He didn't do it like, here's the hero, here's the villain, they're going to fight each other. No, he put them in a situation that made it challenging, right? It was a darkened building that was, what's the word I'm looking for? Dilapidated, um,
dilapidated.
right? I almost said decapitated. And so, here they are in a unusual situation, and it made it more intriguing, right? And it
Yeah,
also balanced things out too, because
yeah,
might say, well, in a one-on-one fight, Cap would beat Bullseye, right?
sure.
Because he has um, all of that experience in hand-to-hand combat, right? And his shield protects him and things like that. But it wasn't all, it was a different playing field. So I thought
Sure.
that was smart by Mark Woolwald,
Yeah.
and I just
And he,
really enjoyed the going back and forth between the two of them.
yeah, and it was a sort of a stroke of genius too to wound Cap
Mm-hmm.
in the first couple panels, right? Because that also sort of levels the playing field.
Yes.
In addition to everything that you've mentioned, right? Because now he's dealing with this debilitating wound on his right leg while trying to overcome who he doesn't know at first. Who this
Right.
person is. So there's a lot of unknowns going on.
Indeed. And then you add Daredevil to the picture, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. All right, Bob. I guess we'll get into favorite panel. I actually go first in this one, and I'm going to go with page 8 in the comic, where it says 8 at the bottom. And my favorite panel is uh, page 8, panel 1. It's the one where Cap's on the girder above Bullseye, and then he flips, and then he lands. Again, always a sucker for seeing multiple action in the same panel. And I just thought this one showed a lot of action. I liked the way Ron Lim uh, just laid it out. I thought it was a good perspective to show the action that's going on here. It's Captain America's making the flip. He's making a land at the same time. Bullseye is being demonstrated as someone who is seeing Cap flying, and he's automatically throwing, but Cap is deflecting it with his shield. I liked the layout of this, and I thought Lim and Belandi did a nice job illustrating it.
Nicely done, Rick. I like that too.
We
You know,
can't have it because I picked it up.
I know, I know. I was about ready to change my mind. I had one picked out that I really enjoy. Um, I guess I'm just going to go with it. So I'm working off a digital copy here, so it's page 3 of the actual comics.
Uh-huh.
The comic. So it's the one where he's just started to engage really with Bullseye. It's the second page of his engagement with Bullseye, and it's the top panel where he is hunkered down behind his shield, and Bullseye is throwing everything at him: the bricks, the sticks. Yeah, that'd look good on a T-shirt probably too.
It would look good on a T-shirt, Bob. Yeah, I had that. I had that as on my T-shirt, and you
Yeah,
just took it from me.
that's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool.
You
And
know
the
what?
thing is,
You said you were thinking of something else. Maybe you might want to go with that something else.
well, I would, but then I'd have to like go count through all these pages to get to that, and I didn't have time for that. So I'm gonna stick with that one.
I
Yeah,
do really like that panel because again, it's a brick, it's a pipe, it's throwing stars, it's all kinds of things. Like you just don't see that. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
see Cap putting up his shield and there's some bullets reflecting off it. So 99% of the time it's bullets,
yeah.
right? Um, you don't see bricks. You don't see throwing stars. You don't see pipes. You certainly don't see them all at the same time in the same panel,
Right. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I do. I really wanted to put that on a t-shirt, but you stole that.
Oh,
What
I'm
are you
sorry.
putting on a t-shirt, Bob?
Well, I'm going to go with that lower left panel on page 15, where Cap has wrenched that guy out of his limousine and he's
Are
holding him
you
up.
kidding me? You're killing me here.
No, you got to love that. Mister. The name's Captain America, and I'm here with a public service announcement. Just that right there. That word bubble and Cap and that guy being held up. I'm going to go with that. I think that would be an awesome. It's a little out of character, agreed, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it look super cool on a shirt.
Yeah, it would really would. Okay. All right. All right. This is where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put something on a t-shirt, and I'm gonna go with. You know what? To heck with you, Bob. You know that panel you picked out with him
Yeah,
holding the shield up and everything hitting it?
yeah.
I'm gonna go with the panel right below it,
Ooh,
which is the multiple action of Cap behind his shield rolling with the shield rolling at the same time and things being thrown at it. And I want that on my chest. I want that going across. And then people are going to be like, why do you have 3 Captain America shields on your chest? And then I get to have an explanation and a
yeah,
conversation with them and
yeah.
explain to them what's actually going on my t-shirt.
Sure. That's like I used to walk around with a shirt that said "Ask me why I'm veg," right? And so like ask me what the heck's going on in this on this T-shirt, right? I That is a really cool panel, and I think we didn't really. discuss it in detail. You described what was happening with the shield and Cap's rolling away. But I love if you look at the detail in that first shield, you see his head kind of
Hmm.
peeking out at the 2 o'clock and his feet at like the 7 o'clock. And then in the next shield, his feet are up at the 7 o'clock, and up at the 2 o'clock, and his head's down at the 2 o'clock,
Yep.
and then on and on and on. So I would love to see those three panels, but from the other side to see how that would be
Oh,
illustrated.
I
That would be
would.
so cool. Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
cool?
it really would
Yeah,
be. Yeah.
all
Maybe
tucked
if I
in.
ever get Ron Lim to do another commission for me, I'll say, "Can you do this panel, but from the opposite
That would be awesome.
side?"
That would be really great. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be like, "You can't pay me enough."
How about a time capsule, Rick?
Well, Bob, you know what? I am going to go with page 15 in the comic, and this is when they're in the arcade. I thought the arcade was definitely a something as worthy of going in the time capsule because arcades existed for a period of time. When I was younger, I thought they would last forever.
I
Uh,
really did too. Yeah.
right, and I remember
Hmm.
them being new. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
right, and I'm like, I remember there was an Italian like pizza place in a strip mall, and it was called Chat Chat
Hmm.
N, just the letter N, Chew. Right? It was called Chat and Chew, and you would go into Chat and Chew, and they had pretty good pizza, and you sat in a booth. Like these were not cushioned booths, right? These were like fast food kind of booths, right? And but what they had Space Invaders and they
Yeah.
had asteroids.
Hmm.
And it was the first time I'd ever seen a video game in my entire life. And that was really, really cool. And then of course arcades came along. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at this page. So to me, the page goes in the arcade.
Mm.
Because you got Blaster, as you pointed out,
Hmm.
and then it looks like in the one where he's slamming the guy's face, that looks like Space Invaders to me,
Oh, it could be. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you look at the top, that could be an S and a P, the bottoms of an S and a P,
Hmm.
and then you see the little spaceship there.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, going back to 1990, here's an arcade for you. That's going to my time capsule.
I love it. I
How
love it.
about you, Bob?
Well,
What's going in your capsule?
Rick, this was a tough one for me, but I honed in on something that I noted on. I think it was. Oh my goodness, where was it? I think it was page 10. And I'm looking at Peggy, and I'm looking at John, and then a few pages later we see Michael, right? Michael O'Brien, and
Yep.
like they're all wearing turtlenecks, Rick.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, it's been a long time since I've seen a turtleneck
And jumpsuits.
and jumpsuits, right? And then I started thinking to myself, like, what's the deal with turtlenecks? And turtlenecks have a long history, but in the 80s and 90s, there was a resurgence in popularity of
There was.
turtlenecks.
There
And a lot of
was.
that was driven by the Steve Jobs, who wore those black turtlenecks.
Mm.
And so I'm like, I haven't seen turtlenecks in a long time. I'm hoping that after the 90s, they sort of died out permanent, like, except for like, people working in the North Sea.
Come on,
Um,
Bob. What are you going to do with your Dickie? Right?
it's private, Rick. That's a private, personal question.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going with turtlenecks as my time capsule for the 1990s.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up from me on that one. I like that. Do you remember? Because not only were turtlenecks a thing, but then fake turtlenecks were a thing,
Yeah, what
right?
were
Like
those called? There was a word for those, right?
Dickies.
Were those Dickies?
Yeah, they're called Dickies.
I remember
What,
them
you just
being.
thought I was being crude?
Well, I don't know. Like the only Dickies I know are like pants.
I
But
could be wrong, but
I thought there was another
listeners,
like
if
mock turtlenecks or
if
something
you
like.
know what a mock turtleneck is, and if I am totally misremembering and calling it a dickie, and you're like, that's not right, please let me know, or let me know I am right, either one. But Yeah. You remember in Christmas Vacation when cousin Eddie
Uh-huh.
came to, he he had a black dickie, right?
Uh-huh.
On, and then he had a white sweater. So you could see where the fake turtleneck ended.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Good times, Rick. Those were good fashion days back in
Absolutely.
the 90s. I miss my parachute pants and my unconstructed sport coats and my thin satin ties.
Satin, I had thin leather ties.
Oh, did you? My
Oh yeah.
scarf, my cashmere scarf, and of course my my Vans, my checkerboard Vans.
Uh-huh.
But those are back, so maybe the rest will come back as well.
It's all cyclical.
It is. It
It
is.
really is. Uh, speaking of reminiscing, so normally we don't go back to back at episodes. We always try to change it up. Like we'll do 90s one week, 80s one week, 70s one week, 60s, recent, whatever. But you know what? I think, we're going to go 1990 to 1990. We're going to cover Daredevil 283 just to because it is an interesting story. It is an interesting
Mm-hmm.
story in the pages of Daredevil that stars Captain America. He's on the cover, and it is, but it is the Captain America from the Streets of Poison.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if we were to just someday, 6 months or a year from now, we're like,
Yeah.
oh, let's do this issue, it wouldn't have the same relevance
Yeah.
as it does right now. So I think it's a good idea that we cover this next episode.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. I'm glad you suggested that. I think that'd be well worth doing.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We really do appreciate you going in and giving us the review. So again, if you want to be entered into the contest to win the "What Would Cap Do" T-shirt, um, go ahead and either give us a 5-star review on Apple, or give us a positive review on YouTube, or you can share on Facebook our post in one of your comic book groups, and again, help get the word out there for your fellow Captain America fans. We always do appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbonis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.